What?
Exactly, right? Yeah,
Mm,
that's funny. Tend to our bodies, right?
yes. Oh my God. I just know already. I need to speak to you more deeply about this. That video you did talking about your dream, that was so fucking good. It's like, holy shit. I'm both loving like the information you're sharing and also the nature that you're sharing it in. It's like, oh, holy shit. This is so non-judgmental and this is so free of like guilting and shaming. And it helped me see how I have had so much of that pressure on myself. And like, so even as I'm receiving the information from my body and I'm like opening to what are the like loving ways that I can like listen, receive, and respond to what my body is letting me know. Like after seeing your video, I realized that I was so hard on myself. It's like, holy shit. How was I so blind to how much guilt and shame energy was still in my attempts to like respond to my body? Like, why was I so not forgiving and compassionate and understanding for myself? It's like, I know what I've been through. Like, why am I so hard on me for like not knowing? And I don't know. So, but yeah, thank you so much for that video. That was amazing.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. And I think that there's just so many layers to like how we've been conditioned and like the patterns we have in terms of relating to our bodies and being like drill sergeants and ignoring like the cues because of what we think we should be doing. So I think like it's so ingrained in us, it's so normal to for that to be part of the reaction. um and it's so interesting because what made me even like record that video is that so on December 1st, so this month, I had that dream. I had another one of those dreams, the frustrating bathroom dream. And so when I woke up, I was like, oh my God, like that dream, let me tell you, it really gets my attention. And I was thinking about it. I was thinking that when our bodies are, pressed above measure, I think for everybody, it's going to be different, the messages that our body gives us. And I was thinking that around the time that I was getting that as a recurring dream, I was already someone who had a dream practice because I dream so much. Like I could have like 10 dreams in one night.
Mm.
And for the most part, I will remember the gist of them. Like maybe not every detail, but I'll kind of remember a lot. And so it dawned on me, like, you know what, I really should start paying attention to my dreams. And so I have a dream journal, and there were periods where I would write them down and write down the themes and try to figure out, okay, what are they trying to tell me? So, and I've taken like some workshops on how to understand your dreams. I bought that book to, have guidance to interpret your dreams. So I was already doing that. And at that time, I was not having recurring dreams. So I think that my body used that way to talk to me
Hmm.
because it knew it would. I was already paying attention to my dreams. So the fact that it was now giving me this recurring dream, I was like, wait a minute, what is going on here?
Right.
So it definitely got my attention, and I, was on a mission to figure out the meaning. And once I did, I made the changes and so forth. But then December 1st of this month, I had the dream. And it really shook me up because I was like, wait a minute, I'm not running myself into the ground. Like I've been really good. Like I've made all kind of shifts. I prioritize my ease. I'm very in tune to when it feels like things are too much. I take breaks. So I was like, wonder why did I like what's going on? So I just was like really shocked. And then what I love is a couple hours after, I got an email from this coach whose email list I'm on. And basically, the email was like, it's December 1st. This is the month of the hermit. This is time. This is the time to do the least.
Mm.
And I was like, oh, that's what it is. It's not that I was doing too much, but my body was letting me know, yes, since you are somebody that is, you move with the cosmos, December, just like the plants are hibernating,
Mm.
you need to do the least this month. So I connected the dots.
Mm.
So it's like, all right, so this is a month that my body is telling me do even less than what you've been
Mm.
doing.
Less. Yeah.
And I've been listening. I've been listening. So I'm like, I'm not playing with y'all. Like I'm listening. I'm following the instructions. So yeah.
That is so. Uh, the relationship between our literal, like our body mind connection, that it matters where we put our attention. Because, like you just said, your body caught, like, this is where this bitch is paying attention. That's where we're going to communicate with her. And that's really what
Right.
makes it a relationship, this reciprocity, this listening and receiving relationship. It's like that's not just a metaphor. It's also, ah, wow, it's so real. Like, my God, to be really directly, like, in no story, complete embodiment of the miracle and mystery of that relationship. I like it. It
Oh my
brings me into a deeper relationship with my body and my breath. Like you can hear, like, oh my God, I need to breathe. Like, bitch, that's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that book, Belonging by Toka Paterna, because the whole way she talks about the dreams and like it's so like it's almost like romance the way she talks about it.
Mm.
Like she talks about it in the sense that we need to court our dreams. Like
Mm.
basically there's aspects of us, she calls them refugees. So parts of
Mm.
ourselves that we've cast off, and basically they they come to us in our dreams because they want to belong to us again. So that's kind of where the title belonging comes from. So it's like all these refugee aspects of ourselves, they yearn to belong to us again. And so us as the ones that, cast them out, it's on us to kind of court them,
Mm.
to court them back into having this relationship with us again. It's so romantic. It really is. It really is.
Yes, that it makes me think of. So I really love the Radiant Sutras, Vijnana Bhairava Tantra, um, because I love having a romantic, erotic charge in my spiritual practice, in my relationship to reality. And I've really been, so pretty much any kind of perspective or reframe that allows me to access like that erotic romantic quality in anything, that's where I'm drawn towards. That's where my heart is drawn. Like,
Hmm.
yes, I love this feeling. I actually, the more I tune into it and, yeah, deepen a relationship with that feeling too, it's just like a continual unfolding where it's like, oh, and I want more. That's real good. And I want more. Oh, I want even more of my time and space to have. It's like such a bottomless appetite for it. Like, holy shit.
Mm. That sounds so amazing.
Mm.
And I mean, like, isn't like our relationship with ourselves the foundation for every other relationship?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I mean, like, Yeah, so that is time well spent, to make that relationship and that way of relating as, yummy and gooey and delicious as possible.
Hmm. Oh my God, another connection that I feel like is like paralleling. Because also what I see the specificity of your bathroom dream is like the tension in that you would be feeling in your pelvic bowl, like the tension of like needing to
Ooh,
release and not feeling safe to release. Um,
wow,
yeah,
that's
right?
deep. I didn't even make that connection about the pelvic bowl because what she was saying about that dream is that when you get that dream, it's like you there's an imbalance. Like there's too much doing, so that too much of the masculine energy, and not enough of that feminine receptive
Hmm.
energy. So where you just pause and do nothing and just receive. Whether you're receiving insights, whether you're receiving help from other people, just whatever. And it's almost like she said, like, there's a lack of pleasure in your life. And I don't think she necessarily was talking about sexual pleasure, but just pleasure
Hmm.
in the sense that there's so much doing and striving and, go, go, go. And your body is not enjoying it at this state and time when you're having that kind of dream. Your body is not enjoying what is happening, you know. But yeah, the way you're connecting it to the pelvis, that makes a lot of sense because that's the sacral chakra. That makes a lot of
Oh my
sense.
God.
Sacral, yes,
Yes.
that makes a lot of
Well, and
sense.
the only reason I think that I saw that was because simultaneously, like what I've been going through, um, I there's this book, Wild Feminine, and I'm reading it very luxuriously slowly. As in literally, I think I've
Mm-hmm.
had it for a year now, and I've not made it past like the second, third chapter because I'm still grappling with the whole thing of how your pelvic bowl you can self measure, self assess, like with your finger. Like you literally just feel your pelvic bowl and you can feel where the pattern of tension is, both through feel and then also you can try squeezing around your finger, and that gives you information about where the tension is.
Hmm.
So, and like with my relationship with my body right now, and like learning to really forgive myself and love me so deeply in a very real way. So I was like, I cannot put my finger in myself that way at this moment. I just can't handle that right now. I can't tell you why. I can just tell you to do that to myself right now would feel like this it would have this coercive energy, this like you have to put up with
Mm-hmm.
this and you're the fact that you don't want to doesn't matter, like would just go so deep, and I don't want to get distracted. So anyways, I finally did it. And so the information I got was that my my front pelvic bowl, like both on the right and left side, is fucking still like numb, like dead, like so full of tension. Like it can't even release. And so that's been present on my mind because one of the things that happens when it's tense up there is that like your full capacity to like really hold your bladder comfortably, easefully is like restricted. So then you have to go to the bathroom more often and like yeah, you just can't hold as much as you could if the muscles were
Mm-hmm.
fully relaxed and able to like accommodate and flex space that way. So that's just why
Wow.
I like with because it's like I realize, oh God, of course, like another place where I have all this weird like tension and lack of safety is around like bathrooms. And like it's kind of like a bathroom anxiety. Like I'm so afraid that my bladder will be so full and I don't have access to a bathroom and then I have to bear the discomfort of this full ass bladder. Like I don't want to deal with that stress. So then I go to the bathroom all the time because I'm so afraid of being in that situation.
Right,
And
right,
then like
right.
that also it has a deep relationship with so on the left side honoring our own wishes, um, and like our relationship with what we're receiving in reality. And then on the right side, like creativity, like what am I creating in the outer world? And so I've just been deep
Mm,
relationship between like this like pelvic bowl thing and then how that affects my relationship to my creativity. Because for me, my creativity is one of the ways that my heart can communicate with me. Like whatever I make with my hands, whatever I do with my hands, it's like such a direct
mm,
connection to the heart with like meridians and energy and
right.
like creativity. So it's like, oh my
Yes.
God, like I have barely even touched the surface of the relationship and connection of like my creativity and like listening to my heart, like hearing so much more of the guidance she has to offer me that is so suffocated right now with like survival trauma and tenacious stress patterns.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think that these kind of like explorations, I feel like is for the whole lifetime.
Mm.
Like I don't think it'll ever be like, okay, now I know my body, I know my heart. You know what I mean? I think it's just always gonna be like this
Yes.
unfolding, and there's always gonna be like deeper layers to discover, and parts that were dormant coming back online, and like yeah, I think it's just yeah, I think it's just gonna be for a lifetime. And funny enough, I don't know if you heard of Dr. Gabor
Yes.
Mate.
Yes.
Yes, I love him, like obsessed.
Mm-hmm.
And I was watching one of his videos about something. He was teaching a class, and he was talking about like when you discover something in yourself or a pattern that you have that you don't like. He was saying that like it's so easy for us to like kind of get judgmental and talk to ourselves like in a judgmental way with a judgmental tone, or it could even just be thoughts where you're like, oh my god, like why am I doing that, like why did I just do that. But he kind of says, if you can catch yourself, and basically you could even just ask the same question, like the same words, but the energy is more of curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
So it's more like, wow, I did that thing again. I wonder why I did that. So it's just like a more softer, so instead of like judging, it's more like curiosity.
Wondering.
And I think he might have been talking about addiction because
Mm.
he worked a lot with addiction, and he was saying, I love this thing that he says because people that are addicted, especially to drugs, like they're kind of shamed and people look down on them. But he says he never asks why the addiction. He asks, what's the pain?
Hmm.
Because most people who have an addiction, there's some pain that's driving it, or that, there's some pain that started that whole spiral. So it's just kind of like a reframe. Like I said, it could be the same word, same question. He said, imagine if you were talking to a child, like if your child did something or your puppy. He said people tend to be quite forgiving with their
Hmm.
pets. Like if the pet, if the cat throws up a hairball or the dog chews up, something, you'll be like, now why did you do that? You know what I mean? It's more like this gentle, curious, inquiry as opposed to a judgmental, why did you do that?
Hmm.
So that's something that stuck in my head when I catch myself, ask, coming at myself, with a judgmental tone to be able to see it and then kind of like go into that more curious, warm, inquisitive
Hmm.
tone, you know.
Exploring the need at the taproot, because it's like there's a need that is desiring to be met here and right now. It's being treated or met in this way. And yeah, there's no addiction is self-medication. It's like, bitch, they are obviously hurt. They obviously need. So yeah, it's really sad of how much stigma there is around addiction when it's to the like the drugs and not the more socially acceptable ones like shopping or a coffee or a TV. Oh,
Right,
yeah.
right. Yes. I mean, because there's so many addictions that one could have,
Mhm. I realized, okay, so I'm taking bupropion and it's been used to treat people to help them quit smoking. So I was like really curious to see like if it would have any kind of effect on any behaviors that I think could take kind of be in the vibe of addiction. Like there's some kind of addictive quality about it. And I have actually experienced a huge shift in my addiction to like always having a TV on. And like I
Mm,
know that the pain and the need under that was, yeah, just I was, I, oh, so with the context of like, remember when you told me through the butterfly eyes that like the root was this frozen trauma response? So like
hmm
I'm telling you, that is continuing to unfold. And it's like, oh yeah, like I have literally really been living in that frozen trauma response, like in a really more dramatic way since 2018. Like, oh fucking duh. So like yeah, I've been like addicted to the TV because it's I like I just didn't have that presence or like outside assistance to just shift into the relaxation, the safety, the trust of like a soothed nervous system so that I could be in silence and like I didn't need
mm,
something else like flooding my nervous system like to keep me from dealing with like everything. And yeah, so it's been miraculous. Like how I literally I also realized that the TV noise it was like keeping me in that loop, that like cycle of like my nervous system is overloaded um and like I can't relax into parasympathetic and have an actually like grounded, trusting relationship with reality right now. I have to be in this tenacious stress response, like panicking, like, oh my God, how am I going to fix this? And so then, like, once I really had that energetic shift and just my relationship and neural grooving patterning just became strong enough that I could choose to, um, like, oh, I'm catching, I'm stressed. I'm relaxing. And then I really started noticing like that the TV noise did have that effect on my nervous system. It's like, oh, duh. Like, so I keep making this hard on myself and I keep like being so activated because I have this TV on. And if I just actually limit that noise, then I don't even like get activated and have to like do the work to like self regulate and soothe myself. Like I can just stay soothed. I can just stay relaxed by just keeping the TV off. Yeah. And now I'm,
wow. So the
mhm.
TV was activating your nervous
Yeah,
system.
just like, and just in a completely neutral way, like, regardless of like the content of what I was watching. Cause even when I was, cause you know, the whole like, um, content also permeates your subconscious. It was just like, the sheer electricity of it was just like more on my nervous system's capacity.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And
Hmm
like, and that's what, where really, having the self-diagnosis of autism, it's like, oh, I do have a more sensitive nervous system. It totally tracks that, like, I'm just more easily overwhelmed and that I need to revel in more silence for my nervous system to stop, like, this constant flood of information to process.
And so you've been able to not have the TV on
Bitch,
recently.
I like more and more, I think it's really been like almost a full week now. Like, I don't put it on in the background for comfort. I don't like watch shows. Like, I'm like TV free. Like,
Wow.
and it's not that, like, yeah, thank you. And like, I still definitely have that, like, because as just as a artistic tool, it's helpful because I'm playing with a lot of like method acting for like somatic creative healing stuff that I'm moving through. And so, but then like that's what my relationship to it is now. It's not just like this thing that I need to have on. It's like it's a specific valuable tool. And when I go to interact with it, it's like for a really specific valuable reason. And then I'm just so much more present. Like, oh, I really do love like the aesthetic of this show. Like, oh my God, I fucking love like listening to Granny Violet be such a fucking stone cold savage. Just like I actually enjoy the theater. I enjoy like whatever it is I get out of it. I'm really present to it.
That's beautiful because at the end of the day, it's not what you do, it's why you do it.
Mm-hmm.
So if the intention behind it, if the why is the TV is on because I needed to distract me from blah, 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 then that's where, you could run into like, it's kind of like an addiction or a
Mm-hmm.
crutch. But if you're watching it because you really enjoy what you're watching and you're getting inspiration and
Mm-hmm.
it's doing this or that, then it probably won't become something that's problematic.
Yeah. It's like that. I think the other really difficult thing around addictions that are stigmatized, well, actually, I guess our society's got a lot of shame around a lot of behaviors. So, and like, I think it's the shame itself of like the way that shame, I really have become aware lately. Because before I used to not really get it when I heard some people talk about shame is numbing. And
Hmm,
now I,
I
oh,
heard
you
that.
haven't?
That shame is numbing.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And that's from some like tantra alchemy magic stuff is like the context in which I was informed about that because when we're numbing, so we're not feeling fully connected to our bodies, which is also what cuts us off from feeling connected to our power, like our personal power, to like use our voice and be truthful and courageous. And so like there's like the thing itself, but what where it really hurts us and where it really keeps us kind of helpless in these patterns is how we feel shame and like it's the numbing, it's the disconnection that happens from our bodies that's really harmful, not like all the weird moral judgments we attach to things. Um, and
No, I get what you're saying. Yeah, because shame is such an intense experience that I could see people disconnecting
Mm.
and not, like you said, numbing to not feel it.
Yeah, it's this really deep, like, oh my God, there's something so wrong with this moment that I like can't even be present in it. Like, I have to try to get as far away from this moment as possible. Like, oh, like I shouldn't even exist right now. This is so wrong. So yeah, it's like, oh, literally, yeah,
Hmm.
of course you're not going to be in your body. Um, and it's that's
Yeah.
sad. Like, um,
Oh my gosh. Ugh. I'm so glad we're talking about shame because, like, the woman that I learned the conscious complaining from, Carla McLaren, she is like an emotion queen. And she really is the one that really taught me like how to honor all my emotions and to understand them and to make friends with them and to learn how to work with them to get their gifts. And so like she's like a groundbreaking person because when she starts saying stuff, it sounds radical because you probably never heard anyone say the stuff that she's saying. But like when she talks about shame, she talks about how she loves that emotion and that once you know how to work with it and you understand it, it's actually like your best friend.
Oh.
And I mean, like, I took the journey with her because I was like, okay, what is she talking about? And I totally get it. And it's like the thing about shame is that we need to get to a place where we can untangle the shaming messages that are in our psyche that are not ours,
Mm,
that it got in there from our upbringing, from society, whatever, because that is a lot of where this toxic shame is coming from. It's messages that we got or we absorbed from the outside, and somehow now it's part of our inner moral structure.
mm,
And so basically, we need to go in. I mean, you don't have to make it into a project. What I did once I learned this is anytime I felt shame, and this is like an easy thing you could do. Anytime you feel shame, you can like take a pause and be like, okay, I'm feeling shame right now. The message that I'm getting is this, whatever the message is. Do I really agree with that message? And if you really don't, then it means that that message is not yours. It's just something you picked up along the way and it got into your moral structure.
mm,
The moral structure that you have that, you want to be a good person, you want to,
mm,
you know.
mhm,
But she said there's a lot of garbage in our moral structure that, you know, it came from the outside, or maybe we did agree with it at one point, but right now we may not. Like maybe that is just an outdated belief.
mm,
So you go in, you say, okay, do I agree with this message? And then if you don't, then you do a practice to release it. And there's a lot of different ways you could do it. You could write it down, rip up the paper, or you could visualize the belief and, visualize yourself like torching it,
mhm,
whatever your process is. But the key is to identify the messages that your psyche is responding to, the shaming messages, to see what is really yours and what's not yours. Like
mm.
we get to do that.
Yes.
And when you can clean that up, and it might, take a while, you just do it as it comes up.
Mhm,
Like as soon as you feel a shaming message, you clean up that relationship, and then you can really have a moral structure that is really yours, that's really true, and that, kind of guides the way you move in the world from there.
yes. I love the check being, do I agree with this? It's like relocating
Yeah.
authority into your inner guidance. And I love, um, I love that. I feel like it gives me permission to be so honest and authentic because there are definitely, um, I've said this so many times, but there's truly this chaos demon dimension to my soul that just loves, like, it just delights in madness and chaos. And because that's part of like what gives me this playful energy in my relationship to mystery, to uncertainty, that like you need that kind of lack of control and like lack of predictability in order to be delighted and surprised. So that's like kind of the
Mm,
more like love and light acceptable dimension of like just more acceptable social qualities. And then it's like, and that's intimately woven into my baby chaos demon, my I love madness and chaos. Ah, ha 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 ha. It's like I guess like two opposite ends of the same pole, that polarity.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I just love like an authentic moral structure is non-dual. It is like it's whole, it's tantric.
Mm.
It's like, and that gives it integrity, like both in being
Good, the
real.
bad, the ugly.
Yeah. And it can actually exist in reality because it's real. It has integrity. Ah, that's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I totally love that. Like there's a reason why, we have these quote unquote, you know, uh, shadow aspects that we don't want people to know about, or like it's all there because it's like you said, to be whole is to be all of it, and everything has its place. Um, like to be nice all the time, like how can you be any one way all the time?
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a time to be nice and there's a time to be not nice.
Mm-hmm. Right?
I mean, like even animals, they're not always nice. Like on my walk today, like this dog, like I always see these dogs that like people have them in the yard, and sometimes they don't say anything. Other times they'll be barking, and then this one, he just started running like
Oh.
towards me. I mean, there was a fence, but I was like, what? He was not being nice.
Ooh.
So it's like I don't know. It's like why being a full spectrum human, why that somewhere along the line got a bad rap.
Mm.
Like I don't know, but yeah, I mean we are everything. So it's just a matter of you know, how you're showing up based on what's happening in the current moment. And I think also too just having a healthy relationship with how you express your different emotional states.
Mm-hmm. Yes. That,
The good, the bad, and the ugly.
yes. Um, that expressing like the ugly, like with ease, and honesty, I feel like is exactly the kind of foundation that it's like when you deal with it in its honest form, then it's very clear of the kind of I'll just like say pollution um, that makes it come out in ways that are like, okay, so this is one of the energy dynamics that I feel like I see play out when we don't have that clear, honest expression of our emotions that are like true for what the present moment of reality is. Um, when we start to hold that back, like repress it for whatever reason, and then that kind of like brings pollution into it because it's like a layer we're more numb to, and like we just lose the clarity of like, what is this? Um, but it still needs to come out, like that need for it to move through your tissues and just release into the ethers, like that's still a force that's drawing it. So then you start doing like more shitty, like shit that you're not even aware of. And like that's what happens. Like you're not aware that this need is still trying to come out. And then you end up doing like really less and less consensual dynamics with people because it's like you get more and more
Mm-hmm.
desperate, like subconsciously. So then you don't even give them a choice because like it needs to happen. And like I feel like following that all the way through is like, yeah, but it's just like how we get predators, like sexual predators, like abusers. Because I really feel like to get kind of like real, I was assaulted by one of my massage therapy teachers after I like finished school and got licensed. I went and saw him at his own like private practice, and he like assaulted me in my treatment. And I like, and that happened when I was already in that like frozen trauma response. It was like, oh, well, it was like so nasty and gross. And like the more over the years, as I kind of like reflected on the kind of environment he held in his classrooms, and it was very much like that uh, experience of like someone abusing their power to like groom a vulnerable person, and establish like such a persona of like, oh, I'm so trustworthy, I'm so aware. Like I feel like probably like somewhere in his past, like he just started doing this thing of like he couldn't be honest about his desires or he couldn't be honest about what he needed to express. And it just got buried deeper and deeper, which like amplified it more and more in like shitty subconscious ways, so that like he has to do this like
Hmm.
creepy, weird, like assault after he gets people into such like a vulnerable situation, like in his studio, on his table. Because
Hmm.
like somewhere really deep, like he doesn't have a clear and honest relationship with his feelings and desires. And so then like he has to do these like really weird coercive ways to like still get his needs met. It's like I think maybe he just needs to be like more of a kinky freak. Like maybe there's just some sex life that he got like shamed out of having for himself and now he's become a fucking predator. I don't know. But that's like thinking about that episode and like all my theories about shame and like
Hmm.
the subconscious and desires and consent culture. Like, yeah, that's like how I'm
Hmm.
looking at this whole thing these days.
Hmm. That's interesting. So prior to him assaulting you, would you say like he gave off a very like trusting kind of like almost like a saint type of vibe? Like you would never expect him to do something like that?
Absolutely, yeah, because like he did this one thing that like now I'm seeing the pattern of like, oh, I've seen a lot of predators do this. Like establishing his trustworthy and credibility by like telling stories about like other people who like abused their position as massage therapist, and like just this
Mm.
whole culture of like wanting to honor the body and like have like a really shame free view of the body, like a view free of all this like religious repression and la la la. So he like absolutely indoctrinated
Wow.
like all of us.
Mm. That's so interesting. It's almost like when they say like when someone is like too extreme, like in a particular spectrum, that like they could be repressing something. It's like they have to go out of their way to prove that they're not this bad
Yeah,
guy.
yeah.
Like they're working overtime to prove that they're a good guy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because they do some bad things,
Yes.
like when they're not,
Exactly.
successful in repressing those impulses.
Yeah.
So, wow, that's very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That is very, very interesting. Yeah, it's almost better to, it's so interesting. Like one of my guy friends, he used to tell me, he used to have this saying that like he hated backdoor cats. And what he meant by that was like let's say I had so for example, we worked at the same job and there was another colleague there and he was like, you know that guy, he likes you. And I was like, what? I was like, no, he doesn't. Like, he never made a move. He never did this. He never did, I'm like, no, he doesn't. And he's like, I'm a man. He does. He's like, he does. He's like, but the mess up thing about it is he's not going to say anything to you. He's not going to, make a quote unquote move. But trust me when I tell you, he has a thing for you, you know. And so, but he's like, but he's the type he's gonna act like he doesn't have any feelings for you. And then when you least expect it, if you were ever like alone with him or something, he would like do something. He calls that backdoor. He's like, I would rather he just come out, just be upfront with it. Just be like, you know what, I'm feeling you, but blah 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 blah. Like just be upfront about it. Just be real. So
Mm.
anyway, I just was like, whatever. So years and years and years and years have went by. And then I wound up seeing this guy again. The guy that he said was the was the backdoor cat. And long story short, like I'm not gonna get into too many details so that no one knows who I'm talking about. But we had an exchange, and I was like, "Oh my god, this dude does like me." And we were alone, not alone. Well, yeah, we were alone, and he didn't touch me or anything. But like his reaction to me mentioning another guy, it was clear that he had a thing for me. And I mean, it just like for me, like it came out of left field. But I was like, oh my God, my friend was right. I don't even think I told him because I was like, I know he'll be like, see, I don't know why you don't listen to me. I tell you things and you be doubting me. But yes, so it's very
Oh my
interesting.
God.
It's so interesting.
I love hearing all your stories about all your interactions with men, first of all.
I've had some pretty wild ones, I'm telling you. I mean, yeah, they do make
Oh my
great
God, that's so
stories.
amazing. Like, wow, he really like nursed that for years, Leah.
I know. I know. And never like I and that's the thing, I never felt unsafe around him. Like I never felt like, oh, he just overstepped a boundary. But that day when I found out, he definitely overstepped a boundary.
Oh,
I mean, not like physically, but but verbally. Because I had mentioned something about this guy that we both knew, and he was like, "Wait a minute, did you used to date him?" And I was like, "What?" And he went ballistic.
oh,
He was like, he wanted to know, he was demanding to know if I dated this guy. And then he was like, did I love him? And I was like, wait a minute. I was like, you know what? I'm not talking about this. Like it just went left. It went all the way
oh,
left. And me and him, we never had anything. So it was like that reaction was just like
yeah.
crazy. It was just like
Oh
crazy.
my God. The mysterious psychologies of men. I am fascinated. I really appreciate that there are more Instagram little videos of like men showing kind of like their emotional side of like situations because it has brought to my awareness is like I really don't think about how men feel. Like it wouldn't like these because in my personal direct experiences with men, like they do so much understating and like stoicism and just like not emotional
Mm,
reactions. So like I just didn't realize until I finally started seeing men make their like cute ass reaction videos to like having crushes or like being like having feelings for a woman. It's like oh, I didn't realize how much I thought like men don't even experience these things. Like, oh, please more. I really want to know more about like you experiencing emotions, feelings, and yeah, like I not too much about the
yeah.
mysterious things that like when it they don't yeah, when they don't act right, when they start when it gets weird like, oh, okay, there's some stuff. That's some pollution. That man, it sounds like there's some pollution.
And I think to your point, I think when these emotions are repressed for so long, and I guess not given like some kind of healthy expression, I guess they do just burst out like that in
Mm-hmm.
like kind of like an inappropriate way with a lot of energetic charge because it's been like bottled up for so long. And I think the straw that broke the camel's back with him was that the guy that I mentioned and he thought I was dating, he didn't like that guy. He hated him. So he was like, wait a minute.
Oh,
You was with him, like he just lost it. Like he
oh
lost it.
man.
Like he really, really lost it.
Oh my
Like
goodness.
I couldn't believe it was happening.
Oh,
Because men with jealousy, And if they don't like the next man and that's who you're with, the man that they don't like, like that jealousy, I think we've all seen men experience. Like that's an emotion that I would say most of us have seen men show. Like that seems to be more easier for them to show than some of the other
Right.
softer
It's a more
emotions.
macho peeing to mark my territory
Right.
kind of.
Exactly.
I.
Like we get to see that in anger.
Mm. Oh, that's so sad. Like, uh, I like the more I think about the whole emotional realm, like of socialization, it's like, yo, I know that women, we've been getting it. I know. I still feel sorrier for men. Like, I would still, all the bullshit that you go through being born into like a female marked body, I would still rather take that than what men go through of like just how much more like bullshit about their feelings they have to put up with. Like, oh, I'm so sorry. And I definitely, oh, I would definitely rather be a woman than a man. Like that sounds so
Me too.
hard. Like you poor babies. My God. Let me just put you down for a nap. Give you a snack. Oh.
Yeah, yeah, it's not easy to be a man. I mean, did you read that book? What is it called? Have you read any of Brene Brown's
I
books?
haven't read them. I watched like one Netflix special she did.
Because there's one that she has. What is it called? Something about perfection, something something. It might be her first book, maybe. But she has this whole section on shame, and then she has this entire section on men and shame.
Mm.
And that, oh my God, like that section, when I read that, it made me have so much compassion
Mm.
for how they are shamed out of their emotions. And like this whole like macho front comes out of being shamed. And I mean, like, I just felt so bad,
Mm.
you know, for what they go through. I mean, I don't think it's like this in all parts of the world, but um, the people that she spoke to that she referenced in the book, like they really like what it means to be a man, and how like the worst thing in the world for them is to be in some way not manly. I mean,
Mm.
it's really, really awful. It's
Seriously.
really awful.
One of the things that I really love about Downton Abbey as a show, and like that's one that, yeah, I definitely watch and appreciate as a useful and valuable tool. The
Mhm.
like one of the things that happens in the series is World War I, and the scenes that they show of trench warfare and like so just I actually really paused to try to imagine, like, what if I were as sensitive as I am, like, how I experience my sensitivity right now in my body. And then what if instead of a vagina, I was born with a penis? And so then I had to be drafted into this war, and then I had to be trying to motherfucking survive this horrifying trench warfare. And like, because I have a penis, like, I get no kind of like cuddling and support for how fucking horrifying and like destabilizing this is. Like, literally, as in, like, like a experience that just completely chaos explodes my sense of reality. Like, I
Mm.
don't know how much fucking trauma got loaded into the like all the men who survived that and then came home and had kids and like that trauma was not processed and then just like again like
Mm.
passed down and amplified like over time. So it's like these poor motherfucking men. So just like thinking of the men who like are sensitive and they still are held to these like intense standards. Like you need to be of a certain physical constitution for that. Like you need to choose that. You need to sign up for that. So to be just forced into it just because of like the organ you were born with, it's like, oh my God. Yo, there's pain. There is pain in
Yeah.
these bloodlines.
Yeah, for sure.
Hmm.
For sure.
Yeah.
Unspeakable pain.
I really desire to nourish a world where it's very safe and loving for men to be soft and sensitive again.
Well, I kind of feel like slowly we're moving in that direction. I mean, we're definitely not there, but I could see things shifting.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank God.
Yeah. All right. So we've been at this like an hour. You want to move towards a close? You ready?
Yes.
Okay. I'm just so grateful that I get to enjoy your wisdom, Leah. Thank you so much for being yourself.
Thank you. And thank you for just holding the space and for just being someone that I can do these deep dives with.
Yeah.
Like you
We
just
go
get it.
deep.
You get
Yes.
it. And
Real recognize real. I think that's what.
yes, you're like my mirror.
Oh,
We
I
reflect each
know, because we're
other.
both Scorpios. It's like we can really go
Yes.
there.
I know if you have one major Scorpio placement, then
Fuck with you.
we're
Yeah.
mirrors.
All right, my love. I hope you have a good day.
You too. I'll talk to you
Okay,
soon.
bye.
Bye. Hey, y'all, this is Leah. I hope you enjoyed this episode where we talked about the brilliant way our bodies send us unique messages that we are pressed above measure in ways that will get our attention. If you'd like to communicate back to your body, I invite you to soothe your nervous system with warm, sweet care in my February 12th online somatic session. It's going to be a 30-minute self love infusion. The link to see the details and register will be in the show notes. And if you want to work with Rose, all her links are on Instagram, and her handle is in the show notes as well. Much love and wellness to you.